It all started in 2016. The Raptors, led by DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, were headed to the first conference finals in their franchise's history, and standing in between them and the finals were LeBron, Kyrie, and the Cavaliers. They made things somewhat interesting, actually tying the series at 2 games apiece, only to get absolutely blitzed in games 5 and 6 by a combined point differential of 64 points. It's okay though, because the team would bounce right back with another great season and would have a chance at a rematch in the second round of the 2017 playoffs. This one, however, wouldn't be quite as interesting. LeBron James averaged 36 points on 73% true shooting in one of the most ridiculous offensive showings I've personally ever seen, as they were quickly dealt with in 4 short games. But with Kyrie leaving for the following season, and Cleveland looking all but diminished around the king, 2018 would be their best shot at finally breaking through. And this was probably the worst of them all, as they looked thoroughly overmatched and left answerless by one player on a mission, as the legend of LeBronto was now undeniable. The thing that always stood out to me about this version of LeBron is the fact that he could create offense for himself and others in virtually every single way you can possibly conjure up, out of any play, from anywhere on the floor, against any type of defense, just displaying true mastery of the game. Most notably, it was his play in transition. The large 6'9" frame, when paired with his athleticism and touch as a finisher, made him nearly impossible to stop as a scorer in the open floor. And even if the opposing defense was able to slow his momentum and take away a route to the paint, that just left them even more vulnerable to his all-time great passing. As he pushes the pace, Lowry stays close to the middle of the floor to not give up an easy drive, while OG recovers and puts his body in front of the ball. LeBron quickly recognizes that he has a numbers advantage with 3 streaking teammates, and leaves his feet while reading each defender to determine where he's throwing the ball. Lowry doesn't drop to the paint, and George Hill is left with an easy 2 points. His vision and precision were on another level. Toronto's defense is out of position with both DeRozan and OG closing out to J.R. Smith on the wing, so LeBron fires a cross-court bullet to a trailing Kevin Love, who fakes for a flyby and sets for a practice jumper from deep. He could also speed plays up like this as an initiator after made baskets, turning on the Jets before reaching half court, which pulls the attention of Serge Ibaka, and without breaking stride, throwing a fastball directly into the shooting pocket of Jeff Green, who just misses on the open corner 3. And when he gets cut off with no readily available passing angle, he can just reset from the top of the key and attack in isolation, using his size to bully his way in close for the finish. These live dribble isolations early in possessions were a pretty big part of his attack, using the space he's given on the perimeter to set up an explosive crossover and build up steam, again getting cut off but finding an angle on the floor to score with his offhand. Here it is again. Siakam's pressuring the ball pretty aggressively, so LeBron throws a couple hesitations, and as soon as Pascal opens up his left hip, freeing up the middle of the floor, James explodes into that space on his way to another 2 points at the cup. And what made protecting the paint from these drives so difficult is how he would leverage that threat into other opportunities, stepping back for a 3-point shot right over the top of a solid contest. Again, he's given a fair amount of space at the point of attack, and leverages the downhill threat with a couple hesitations that force CJ Miles into a backpedal, setting up a high-quality pull-up midi. Here's the exact same thing. He hesitates and threatens the drive to make OG drop back to the paint, which gives him more than enough room to comfortably pull back into a mid-range jumper. It's not like he was the best shooter on the planet, but a legitimately great difficult shot maker who made defenders pick their poison. Siakam does a great job of closing off the initial drive and using his body to absorb contact while holding his position, and LeBron counters by slowing his momentum and spinning back out for a turnaround fade over the right shoulder. And this time, instead of turning over his right shoulder, he turns that into a counter of its own by faking it with a half spin, creating enough space to instead fade over his left with the same result. Another way in which LeBron would attack in the half court was with the use of ball screens. Valanciunas is back in a drop, and instead of settling for a jumper, he attacks that space by driving left before spinning back to his right to finish around the outstretched arms of the big man. On this one, Poeltl's in position to offer resistance on the right side of the screen, but Siakam takes his eyes off the ball for just a split second to look for an angle around it. That's all it takes for LeBron to reject the screen and explode in the opposite direction as he finishes vertically with the left. And as explosive as he was, he could play at multiple different speeds. OG chases him over the top, so he slams the brakes and uses his large frame to put his defender in jail and play the in-between game, taking a few extra dribbles into the paint and lobbing it up top for Tristan Thompson to tip it in. Here's a real similar play, where he gets chased over the top and patiently probes with his live dribble, but instead of taking it downhill, he moves across the lane to set up one of those mid-range fall-away jumpers. With his combination of burst and patient court mapping, defenses never really knew what to expect after he came off of screens. He sets up as if looking to attack right, but Jeff Green does a great job of flipping it at the last second to force DeRozan into defending in space. DeMar does a good job of taking away the middle, so LeBron fakes the attack right to get the step going left, using his body to prevent any chance at a recovery, which pulls Valanciunas into the paint, leaving Kevin Love wide open in the corner for a great look that doesn't fall. This constant rim pressure made the pick and pop a staple of their offense. Miles is forced to step over and protect the paint with OG in recovery, which leaves J.R. Smith all by himself at the top of the key. This time it's Love who sets the screen and pops to the perimeter, but Valanciunas does a great job of recovering, and after a fake, OG quickly rotates to pick up the ball. That just leaves LeBron unattended for though, as he catches and quickly takes a red carpet all the way to the cup for two. He would also use these ball screens quite a bit to hunt for switches onto favorable matchups. Miles just has no chance of slowing his momentum as he finishes right over the top plus the foul. And the problem with defending these actions is that if you don't give up the soft switch, he'll just exploit that space created by the screen to charge down the paint. And this creates all types of confusion, impossible questions to answer as a defense, and miscommunication. Instead of attacking right away, LeBron pauses to see if Miles is going to stick with him or recover back to his man. And as soon as he takes that first step towards the perimeter, the Jets are on, pulling Poeltl into the paint and hitting Jeff Green for another practice shot from deep. Here it is once more. Miles actually concedes the switch, but Siakam doesn't follow suit, and they end up with two on LeBron, nobody on Jeff, as he's left all alone yet again, this time unable to knock it down. If LeBron's game attacking with a live dribble in both transition and in the half court wasn't already enough, Cleveland would also set up their offense in ways that allowed him to operate from a standstill. Similar to what you see with a guy like Jokic, he'd set up in the pinch post and hunt for teammates as they ran through off-ball action, and it felt like he never made the wrong decision. He comes off a cross screen so that the entry pass is a lot easier. Korver and Love get into some action that pulls two defenders into the paint on a cut, leaving Love on an island as his warm-up jumper just comes up short. Here's an inbounds play where Smith gets it to LeBron near the elbow and immediately moves into a pin down for Love. DeLon Wright drops back while Poeltl's unable to navigate the screen, resulting in another high-quality look from deep. And here's that exact same play again, except this time instead of using the screen, Love shoots backdoor on a cut, and LeBron makes a pinpoint dime in stride for the dunk. Because of his ability to pass in tight windows, the room for error in defending these possessions was almost non-existent. Valanciunas is just a touch slow getting around a screen from Korver, and that's all it takes for Love to quickly catch and finish without ever breaking his momentum. This time it's a little three-man action. DeMar chases JR over the top, with Valanciunas back in a drop, and Ibaka staying attached to Korver. LeBron can make this next level delivery over the top, so Jonas has to worry about getting back to Love. And because Smith has a one-step lead on his man, he can receive the ball with momentum for a great opportunity to score at the rim. Now, what truly made things impossible was that if the defense was able to take away all off-ball routes, meaning no cuts, no open shooters, then LeBron would start his own attack, and his ability to score from a standstill was absolutely incredible. He has a smaller Lowry on him in the post, and again, because of the threat of that passing, no Toronto defender is able to come over and double or get the ball out of his hands, and he throws a little shimmy into one of those turnaround fades over his right shoulder, an incredibly tough shot that he makes look routine. Here it is again, backing down Lowry from the middle of the floor, and not a single defender even considers coming over to offer a second body. It's that exact same shimmy move, this time to set up a fade over the left shoulder, and I'm just not at all sure what you could even expect the defense to do. It wasn't just post-ups, but also face-up isolations, threatening a drive with a couple jab steps towards the middle before exploding baseline with a one-dribble pull-up jumper. There just isn't an answer for this. The combination of transition brilliance, live dribble isolation, ball screen play in the half court, and ability to operate from a standstill as well as anyone made him probably the best player in NBA history at creating offense with the ball in his hands. But what gets lost in all of that heliocentric dominance is that he also developed quite the skill set away from the ball. It's Love who has the ball in the post against a smaller CJ Miles, and when Siakam takes just one step in an attempt to dig, LeBron immediately shoots backdoor for a real simple catch and finish at the rim. This time OG jumps out to the perimeter to prevent Bron from getting the ball, and when he cuts, Lowry quickly slides over to slow his momentum. The most basic read here would be to hit George Hill, as the defense would be forced to scramble. But he sees Love sealing deep position on the weak side, faking the first pass to move Lowry out of the way as he creates a shot at the rim for a pair of free throws. He was also utilized quite a bit as a screener in the pick and roll, as he's just a wrecking ball of a downhill finisher. And because OG doesn't want to give up the switch onto DeRozan, when George Hill comes off, there's nobody to meet him with resistance, easily getting into the paint for a layup. Just within this one game, LeBron James took on so many different offensive roles, and perfectly executed every single last one, almost like a sort of chameleon, as he shot 18 of 25, or 72% from 2, recording 43 points and 14 assists in the process. Those 14 dimes resulted in 34 points, for a total of 77 off of either him scoring or assisting a teammate, while only turning the ball over one single time. This was about as flawless an offensive performance one could possibly have. And pretty much every empty possession for Cleveland just came as a result of the team missing an open shot, which is why they were able to mark an absurd 141 offensive rating in this game. You heard that correctly, 141 points per 100 possessions. If we just look at LeBron's 41 minutes, that number goes up to 153.3, which just doesn't even sound real. The Cavs would of course go on to win the next two at home, closing out the series in a sweep, as this would end up being the last playoff game he ever played on that Toronto court. The legend of LeBronto went out with the best performance of them all. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you thought of this performance from LeBron. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.